All right, welcome back to Fright Flicks Killer Theories. This is final Killer Theories for Scream Queens.
We're leading up to the end run of the series. Tonight, we're doing final Killer Theories. Next week, we've got an episode. The week after that, we've got the two-part season finale.
Right.
Possibly series finale. I haven't heard that's officially been picked up.
Not officially, no.
But from what we've heard, even if it does come back, it's going to be anthology style, so we may not see any recurring characters, themes, story, whatever. So we're heading into, as far as we know, the end of this story period.
Yes.
So that's why tonight will be our final reflection on who the killer is, or might be. Mm-hmm. And we'll be putting out the call for your guesses, your final killer theories as well.
Yes. Yeah, just want to lay down a little bit of rules on it real quick. How we do this, we did the same thing for Scream, being that there's only, the two-part final is more than likely, you just got to be careful about this stuff, that at the end of episode, what it would be 11 now, they might give away the killer as the, cliffhanger of 11. So here after 10 is where we'll do final killer theories and then work it through from there. All right, so basically how the rules are going to go is Scream Queens, we know, is very complicated, and it's going to continue to stay complicated and only get more complicated. So what we are picking is who is the person, the last Red Devil suit. Not who's the killer, not who's this, that, the other. So there's one person. Each person out there commenting, you can pick one person.
Sure. They're going to end up being probably several killers.
Yes.
And so just because someone's a killer doesn't mean that you're right. We're talking the person that stabbed Boone. The person...
Yeah, the person who stabbed Boone, basically.
Right. The person that, as we were led to believe, killed Gigi in tonight's episode.
Yep.
The Red Devil. I mean,
yes.
Like even my 8-year-old daughter earlier said, oh, well, Dean Munch, she's a killer, but she's not the killer.
Right. And it's going to get muddy, and we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. So comment one person, then from there, any comments after the 30th, because then the next night is episode 11 coming out. So any comments left after the 30th will not be part of this. So make sure you get them in before the 30th if you're listening to it around that day. And then after the last episode airs, I'll review every single comment that we got, siphon through them, and then find the winners.
God bless your soul, because I was trying to keep up with the comments from last week's episode.
Oh, boy.
And that shit just gets out of hand.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you.
Right.
I love that it's out of hand. I love that we have so many listeners out there that have their own theories and they're chiming in. We love all the theories and all the comments. We really do. But damn, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, they really help me flesh out stuff, as time goes on.
We got some smart listeners with some really, every single week, somebody posts a comment that makes me think. I missed that.
Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I want to point out. If somehow you're listening to this one first before any of the other ones, go, when you watch the other episodes, or if you've already seen the other episodes, go through the comments section. Because there are a lot of good theories, and there are a lot of instances where I go further in to theories and type shitloads of stuff. And so those are definitely worth looking for. They'll probably be on this one too, so just basically make sure you read the comments. Real quick, as far as that goes, some YouTubers that I wanted to just tell you about, look for some of their comments. Always good, always on top of it with stuff. Is Tony Arredondo. Sorry, I'm
Arredondo.
Terrible. Yeah, I'm terrible with names. Tyler Harvey, Lucas Orosk, again, terrible. Aaron Williams, Perry Littleton, Jose Origo, Alberto Ruiz, E-Car, Nintendo Oshi, Nathan Allen, Bobby Daniel, Emilio Rossi, James Sanders, Lindsay Ludwig, and Gene Mammon. So, there are plenty of other people. I'm sorry if I forgot your names. You see that was already a very long list. These are people who comment.
Yeah, I was about to strike up the band to start playing you off.
Dude, no kidding. And that's what I'm saying is there's multiple comments on each video. We go back and forth. This stuff gets deep. There's a lot of good stuff in there. One special thanks I want to do, and then we'll start all of this rolling. Feel free to skip ahead if you would like, but please don't. is a special YouTuber, is AJL. AJL is the first person doing Scream or Scream Queens who caught something I did not.
Really?
Yes, and fucking impressed me. He's the one who pointed out that Butcher Pete song in Hester's 50s Ghost Story.
Very cool.
Yes, very cool. And he was like, yeah, you should check out the lyrics. I was like, okay, well, I don't think there's anything to them. I mean, I've listened to the song in the episode, but yeah, when I really listened to it and found the lyrics, there are some incriminating ass lyrics. So, congratulations, AJ. You bested me for the first time on Scream Queen's knowledge. One other thing I wanted to get out of the way real quick was I mentioned in episode 8 video that I had seen a still that was a spoiler, and I was worried that it was going to be something, and I was calling myself out. I just want to make sure that I tell you and everybody else that that still was Chanel number 3 talking to Boone, where he's like, oh, I'm Ghost Boone.
Right.
So when I saw that still, I was like, if that's in the last episode, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But now that that's over and done with, I don't know any more than, anybody else. So thank the Lord for that. I would have been so upset. But anyway, so now we get into episode specific. So we're doing Scream Queens episode 10, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Coming off last week's episode, which was the biggest point of disagreement Mike and I have had throughout this entire season of Scream Queens.
Yeah, I know, weird, huh?
Our rating on these episodes usually were pretty close. Not exact, but we're usually in the same ballpark. Last week, I loved the comedy, and Mike really hated how they dropped the ball on a bunch of storyline stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love the comedy.
Right, exactly. So it was just like, it was really, we didn't even disagree so much. It was just a matter of where we put our level of importance.
Right, precedent, yeah.
And this week, I felt, completely kept the ball rolling on the comedy front and stepped up in the storyline department.
Oh, yes.
Thanksgiving is, to sum it up briefly, it's about family. It's about how awful Thanksgiving can be and how you make your own Thanksgiving. So there's a lot of character stuff, a lot of comedy.
Right.
It's also Scream Queens Killer Theories, the episode.
Yep.
I tweeted Mike when I was watching it last night. I'm like, they're trying to beat us to the punch. They're going through all our old episodes and listening to our killer theories, and they're laying them out there as evidence. Which was great fun. I loved it. I would also say that anytime they laid out a killer theory that was like, okay, this is confirmation that that's not the answer.
Sure, right.
Or else why would they say it?
Right.
But I do love how many they crammed in. They threw a lot of killer theories in this episode.
Right, and I also had to appreciate, I had to go for a drive after this episode because I loved it so much and gave me so much to think about. But I also loved how it was who they chose to go up against who. Like Pete going, like saying to the guy he wants to impress the most, he's like, dude,
and
I
Wes
like
against
you,
his daughter,
and it's really nothing personal, but I totally think you're the killer. Yeah, and then Wes is the one who calls out his. Like they wanted someone to call out Grace.
Right.
They wanted someone to call out just that added extra bit that they had the person, who was like the worst person to like convince you to be a killer.
Now, in terms of storyline and in terms of whodunit, and we'll get into this later, but I still don't I don't trust the show in terms of a whodunit. It seems to change things up too much. But I really liked that for this episode, in terms of the whodunit, in between all the killer theories where different people were laying out evidence why somebody else was the killer, anybody that wasn't named as one of the potential killers also had evidence piled up on them.
Sure.
Just either through timing or whatever, with the exception of Chad and Chanel, and Chanel Oberlin, I mean. But
right.
Chanel number 5 and Pete and Hester finished the episode. When the episode ended, they felt the most guilty to me because they hadn't been the star of a killer theory, and they'd all been suspicious as hell.
No, this was so much fun. Yes, this was a hell of a puzzle. I was like, oh, I'm going to get into this motherfucker now. And I was up all fucking night doing this shit. But yeah, what I really liked is they even pack in shit at the very end. Because at the very end, it's like, okay, so we all know that the turkey's in the oven, and then all of a sudden her head's on the platter. Who did it? So when I go back and rewatch, every single character is like, oh, I got to leave the room.
Right.
Oh,
when Zayday pointedly tells Wes, I just checked it personally. It's done in 5 minutes. And then his response was like, oh, okay, thanks for telling me.
Yeah, every single character walks out of the room, comes out with a knife, sharpening this. Zayday's like, I think this is one that is totally nothing. But still, it was trying to fuck with us. Where it was like, I couldn't find any matches, so I had to go, but I found this down in the downstairs bathroom, and someone's like, oh my god, Chanel number 3 has been in the downstairs bathroom. She must have left a pistol for no fucking, it doesn't mean anything that there was but still, it was like just over and so they crammed in so much shit that I'll tell you right now, I have no fucking clue who put her head on the platter, because every single character could have done it. Like, it is fucking hilarious and smart, and I loved this episode. Now, we could almost split this episode up into 2, and being that we split Killer Theories up anyway, we could talk about the other. This was like awesome Scream Queens horror stuff, and then it was a genuine like comedy at the Radwells. The
Radwell family Thanksgiving delivered. Like I'd mentioned a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if I did it on this broadcast or if I was just doing it on social media.
Right.
But I was like, oh my god.
By the way, follow us on Twitter too, because we put a lot of stuff up on there too, and we lose track of where our killer theories are. So follow us on Twitter and look at the comments, and you'll get everything.
We're talking about it throughout the week.
Yeah.
It isn't just a once a week thing. We're constantly going back and forth.
Yeah.
But I was eagerly anticipating this, just because Chad Radwell's my favorite character on the show. So when he mentioned his brothers Thad and Brad, I was like, oh my god, I want to see this.
Right.
And we got to see it, and it totally delivered. Like, the entire Radwell family. Chad is, like, the most down-to-earth one of them.
Yeah, I know. Gotta love it, huh?
Oh, my God. It was great television comedy. Now, when you factor in, like, his parents, we both, like, everybody is going to recognize them from TV sitcoms anyway.
I don't know who the mom was.
Her name is Julia Duffy.
Right.
And she might, I'm not sure your age. She might be a little before your time, but she's like she's a TV sitcom actress.
Okay. Right on.
She's been in several of them. And she was great.
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
Bunny Radwell, she held court.
Oh, yes, she did.
And Alan Thicke as the dad, and then Chad Michael Murray and Patrick Schwarzenegger as the brothers.
Right.
And I couldn't pick either one out of the lineup, so I don't know which one was Thad and which one is Brad.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Like, their dinner, their game of Pictionary, every moment spent there with the Radwells, I just loved it.
Yep. And again, it's like splitting this episode up in half. Is like, that was so funny. That was so... Like, you could separate all that out and still have a really funny beginning, middle, and end story with how they wrapped up Hester and Chanel versus the family and everything, which I really liked and appreciated all of that. But, like, I've never seen Alan Thicke. I know Growing Pains. I've seen a shitload of episodes. He was Growing Pains, right?
Yes.
And he was sinister for the first time ever. And it was just like everyone pulled their weight and made it sense that they were related to Chad. Other than Chad Michael Murray, funny enough, I kind of don't know what to think of him, but I thought even Chad's fucking wife was ditzy and high class and just fucking obsessed just enough to fit in.
Like, you just look at them, and they're awful. You know they're just awful. And then later Chad was like, first of all, my family is awesome.
Yeah, and I actually don't know if Arnold Schwarzenegger's son is one of them, Patrick Schwarzenegger. I don't know if he's actually younger than Chad, but I tend to doubt it because it was inevitable. But yeah, Chad is the fucking baby of this family. Like, he acts like a little asshole who's still 12 years old and doesn't know that the world doesn't function this way. Right. Which is what Dean Munch says, yeah. So anyway, that was all good. That was all great. Called the one thing I didn't like was the neck brace thing. Like, why did they even really bother? Yeah. That stuff that shitty shows do. It's like, oh, we killed somebody, and now they're back in the first 10 minutes of the next. Like, why did they bother? Who are they kidding?
I would agree with that. And particularly, I watched the episode, and then today I watched the episode a second time, and I watched it with my daughters,
Right.
my 8 and 10-year-old daughters. So my first watch through, I was like, why did they go through the trouble of quote unquote killing Hester just to bring her back like that with so little fanfare instead of making it mean something?
Right.
And then it got confirmed today. I was watching it with the kids, and Hester had been back for like 5 minutes of screen time before one of them was like, so she's not dead? Like, it made no impact on kids either.
No.
It was just like, oh, she's alive. Oh, okay.
It was a way to end the last episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, that's the only thing I didn't like, and it was like, oh, the neck brace is the reason I... Blah, 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 blah. But that's my only complaint on this episode. This episode gets, 9 out of 10. Like, just jump ahead to that. Especially because of after last episode, I was so pissed off. And this episode just, like, it killed it. Like, as far as having watched it as much as I did last night and reviewing with other episodes, all of its logic is either completely a joke on us or it's sound. Like, it does... Every ball was rolling last night, and no one misstep was made. That's pretty damn impressive. Plus, I also have to say it might be one of my favorite moments of the entire series is the opening with Gigi and the Red Devil, where the Red Devil, she's like, are you just not going to talk to me? And it's just nodding its head. Okay, so... And the pheasant joke, and Gigi looked hot, actually. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I miss her, but I was like, Gigi, you're my baby girl. I like crazy girls. What are you going to do? But I really enjoyed that scene. I love nonverbal comedy. And to see the Red Devil in broad daylight, cutting out fucking pieces of, like, what were they doing? Like, it was trying to be a normal, what they think a normal family does, which is probably making ransom notes or some weird, crazy shit.
Right. But in full costume.
Yeah, I loved it. Fucking loved it. Anyway, so I give it a 9 out of 10 this episode.
I do as well. I gave last week's episode an 8 out of 10 based purely on the comedy. Last week's episode, they backpedaled. It felt like they were trying to cover their ass on plot points. Mm-hmm. They dropped the ball in a lot of areas, but I laughed. It was super funny.
Right.
So I liked it. Mm-hmm. And I mostly, to be honest, I love Scream Queens as a comedy. And I gotta tell you, it hit me this week that if it comes back for a second season, the fact that it may be anthology-based, like Scream, that makes me sad because I don't like Scream Queens because of the story or even the style. They've got so many... They've cultivated so many great characters. And at this point in the season... Like, a few episodes ago, I was like, oh, there's Chad Radwell, and I love Niecy Nash. Now, they're, like, every week, somebody else kills it.
Oh, I remember also, by the way, why I like Pete.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But, anyway, no, I was totally sad. That was the other reason I had to go for a drive.
Yeah. And I just...
Because I miss Gigi. I'm like, oh,
it
when she got
makes
killed
me sad
off screen.
that, like, even if somebody lives, I may not ever see them again.
I know.
And
well, supposedly the 4 to 5, he's amended his final 4 to possibly 5, will continue on in character into the next season.
Oh, good. Well, then he amended Chad, because Chad is the breakout star of this season.
I fucking hope so, man. Or Niecy Nash. I don't know, man. I like everybody. And
but
Chanel number 3
hearing that
had
actually heartens me, because without all of these great characters, if they are literally, like, if it was going to be an American Horror Story where they're starting from scratch, I wouldn't be that psyched,
man.
Because, Chanel and Chanel number 3 and Chanel number 5 are all awesome, as well as Niecy Nash and Glenn Powell.
Yeah, this is why I had this thought that I watched American Horror Story Season 1 from the very first episode, didn't know anything about it, whatever, and it surprised me that it was an anthology. Mm-hmm. Like, how cool would it be if he reverses that? And I would have no problem being lied to on that front, Ryan Murphy and Brad and everybody. No problem being lied to there. If it turns out that Scream Queens does continue with these at least same characters, and okay, wrap up the Red Devil and no more Red Devil. Right. Do not ever bring the Red Devil up again, but that they all continue. And like Niecy Nat and quite a few characters survive. Maybe it would upset me on the night watching the show, but I would be so thankful once season 2 started.
Right, and several of these characters, for whatever reason, are all counselors at a summer camp alongside a lake. Mm-hmm. Boom! I would be so there.
Yep,
exactly. I really would.
Exactly. And maybe that's kind of what they'll do is they'll keep the cast but recast them in other roles type stuff. Like maybe Chad will play a character who is like sheepish and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you never know. Anyway, one thing I did want to point out about this episode real quick was that this one was written by Brad
Falchuk.
Falchuk. I actually knew that. Brad Falchuk. The last few were written by Ryan Murphy, and funny enough, I actually realized going through it, I don't like the Ryan Murphy episodes.
Yeah.
7 Minutes in Hell was pretty good, but I like the Brad ones the best. Brad did Haunted Houses, Pumpkin Patch, and now this one. And those are the best overall consistently. Ian's did Chainsaw, which of course, which is more funny than anything and badass. But he also did, I think, episode 8 or whatever. He did one of the last ones. So whatever. But I was excited to see Brad back. And the biggest thing, this episode was directed by Michael Lehman.
Really?
Yeah. The director of Heathers. How awesome is that?
That is awesome.
Dude, I seriously almost cheered. If I wasn't alone, I was so fucking happy
episode
about that.
1, like the first few minutes, I'm like, so this is Heathers / Mean Girls.
Mm-hmm. So they're just like, everyone keeps saying that, might as well just go for it. And one of my only other complaints, Denise not in the episode. All very tragic. Okay, so now we're going into our final killer theories here for Scream Queens. This is what we're sticking to till the end. So, would you actually like to go first?
You know that I wouldn't.
Oh, right.
Mr. Inside Information.
That's why I don't want to, you push your whatever. If you had any, whatever.
All I know...
Feel free to switch at the end.
All I know is that I got the final killer theories right for Scream Season 1, and you didn't. So this gives me the high hand going in.
True.
Just... I never jump on that and take advantage of rubbing it in.
That's true. That's true.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. And the main reason I wanted to throw that out there is as bullshit jail cover, because after this last episode, they did such a good job of casting shade on every single major character who it could be. Even when, okay, at the end of Thanksgiving, if I discount Chanel number 3 and Dean Munch and Grace and her dad because they were specifically called out as,
right.
I'm still left with Pete, with Hester, and Chanel number 5.
Right. Well, see, this is the thing, and this is something that we all know. That's why this just sucks. Is one, they could cheat, and 2, we will all, if somebody did want to debate once the show's over, were we right or wrong, they will still be able to do it, because I guarantee you the show is not going to be able to wrap up all of its mysteries,
right.
And you'll be like, even though blah 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 was revealed to be the killer, someone online is going to be like, but I don't think it was actually that person, and here's all my reasons. You know what I mean? So there will never be.
There's probably going to be evidence to clear almost anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that said, personally, Pete kind of leads the pack for me simply because of availability.
Sure.
And you and I have discussed before that because it's a TV show and it's edited, they could change the chronology of things.
Right.
Whenever there's a lot of shit jumping off, Pete isn't around.
True.
But then again, they've put a lot of stock into it's a boy and a girl. I've been so convinced it was Pete for a while, I was floating the idea that maybe he's transgendered. He was born a girl, but he identifies as a... I don't know. But then after this episode, it felt to me like they were really pointing a lot at Hester with the with the carving knife and her showing up at the end. This knife's really sharp. Mrs. Bean's carver was missing, but I found this one. And then she quotes what Gigi said at the beginning of the episode with it should easily carve through roast flesh.
Right.
And then, also in terms of...
And then Chanel's 3 is like, what a weird thing to say.
And then, in terms of availability, you've got Abigail Breslin, who I felt has been getting better throughout the season.
Oh, no, she's very funny.
Yeah, she's super funny, but she also turns up... we've got the ghost stories thing where she came back saying what had happened to her. It didn't feel legit. Now she just shows up most of the way through the episode. Oh yeah, my family wasn't there. You didn't get to see it like the other Chanel. You just have to take my word for it. And then also, I know this is stupid, but the Red Devil has horns. And this entire episode, she's wearing what could be cat ears or could be devil horns throughout the entire episode.
Very true.
And just also she carried the tray out at the end with the head on it. So I don't know. Like those three to me lead the pack, but I'm really throwing darts at a board here.
Well, no, and what I'm going to end up saying, like I said, is that's all it is. Even though I'm rock solid in my being like, this is who it is, that doesn't fucking make it so. Like, it's still throwing darts at a board because we never know.
Well, because we don't... I actually said the first review I think we had, where we started discussing our killer theories, and I was like, I don't really know what to say because I don't know if this is going to end up being like Scary Movie. Mm-hmm. Is it committing to the comedy? Is it committing to the whodunit?
Right.
Are they going to change it? And to some degree, I love the show. That's still true. I don't know which way they're going to break.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. And it's only further proving some of the stuff you mentioned talking about it was that, the reason I haven't told you what I have learned thus far, which, as far as I say, I know who it is. The reason I haven't told Nate thus far is because I want him to rebuttal me. And from what you've said, you are going to rebuttal me.
Yeah, no,
which is good and fun, and that's what I'm looking
And that's something
forward
else to just to mention is that we review this every week. We never discuss it before. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Siskel and Ebert, they recorded their show. When they recorded their show, they never discussed their opinions about anything before recording. We kind of take the same approach. We don't sit down and discuss, I think this, I think this. So we're both sort of coming at each other fresh with our opinions.
Right, yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure I preserved it, because last night I was like, ooh la lolly! Like, I got you, motherfucker.
He blew up Twitter. He blew up Twitter. He was like, I know who the Red Devil is. I emailed him, like, tell me who the Red Devil is.
I'm like, nope, you're going to have to wait. But anyway, like I said, everyone's going to want to disprove me. I can't wait because I did my research, trust me.
I have no doubt that you did your research.
Okay, anyway, so do you want to pick...
No. I did a preamble. I'm still sort of figuring it out.
Okay, right on.
I would love to hear your evidence that might impact what I'm already thinking.
Mike's final killer theory, it is Grace. It is 100% Grace here, and... I'll do multiple videos maybe going into why specifically, but holy shit, like, okay. The thing I pointed out and I said to you was they fucked up.
Right.
They did something.
You think that the show made a mistake and had a wardrobe malfunction?
No. Well, okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
This
is what I'm getting to. Wardrobe malfunction. Yes. Okay, so this is what it is. In Wes talking to her, he's like, I think you're the Red Devil. Plus, she was around when the whole Melanie Dorkus thing happened. But anyway, specifically.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, I know, right?
And also talking about entering evidence in the 11th hour.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. Again, we'll do a separate video because we know Melanie Dorkus is going to eventually come back. And I'm going to have, because I haven't been able to go into it, who the babies are and who this person and how everything ties together.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
And Grace is framing one of the babies because Grace is always the one, you mentioned this talking earlier to each other, that it's like, the babies are the killers. Who keeps saying that? And who kept saying it this episode? We all agree that the babies are the killers when she's alone with their dad. The babies are the killers. So, when Hester is revealed to be the other baby, she is not actually ever been allowed by Gigi to be under the costume. She gets left out of that like she gets left out of everything else. Plus, Gigi doesn't want her under the costume because it's physically active and she's in a fucking neck brace. So she takes off the neck brace and is like, Gigi, look, I can fucking be the Red Devil. She's like, no, you can't do it. So anyway, and I have to research all of those kind of things. But, so yeah, Grace is going to eventually try and frame Hester for all of this. So, anyway, the biggest thing that happened was in the flashback, Wes says to her, I saw you talk to the Red Devil. And she's like, no, it was me and Pete, right?
And Pete says, yes, that was me.
Right.
Like that.
Right. So, this is where they fucked up, is that I have a screenshot, and I'll put this up somewhere, is that was slick as shit of her, because her and Pete went out and did this, right? If you look at the wardrobe, which is their malfunction, is their wardrobe, Grace is wearing the clothes that she was wearing when she was looking up at Kappa House and saw the Red Devil across the street, you know?
Yes.
And Wes is wearing what he was wearing that day, that they've never worn anywhere else in the...
No. Like, the moment you're mentioning is she, I don't believe, had met Pete.
She had not met Pete.
She did not know who he was.
Nope. So Grace was talking to the Red Devil before meeting Pete. Grace is the killer.
That's, and
they hid it within all those fake theories. They gave you the real answer.
Yeah, which is also something that I was thinking, particularly since they loaded up so much evidence on a couple of them, that one of them would be true, and that's an interesting theory. I still got to say that it still remains within the realm of theory, just because.
Right? No. Well, yeah, exactly. But to me, in everything else that I know, it is Grace.
Okay, I mean, she's definitely. It's funny you say that. On the second viewing, as a dad with daughters,
right.
First of all, and it was funny, I was questioned by this by my 12-year-old. She said, if you thought I was a killer, would you tell other people? I was like, of course not.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the second time through, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, okay, he calls out his daughter because he thinks she's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
And then she doesn't give a piece of evidence that would make him say, oh my God.
Yep. He has a moment where he's like, you are the killer. Shit.
Oh my God, I just realized.
That is
I'm so right, but I can't out you in front of everybody. Now I feel for you.
And when they're alone in the room, under that context, listen to that conversation again. He's like, I swear I didn't know.
Right.
He's like,
except for you and me. Of course.
Yeah, it's like, I swear to God, I didn't know until tonight that was the case. Like, he never says that I'm the father of the baby, which is what he's like, I swear I didn't know. And she's like, well, we gotta start covering this up. We both know that the kids are the killer.
Right.
And he's like, do you think you could send your Hester to the electric chair as the fall guy? Do you think you can do that when the moment gets here? And she's like, I can fucking do that shit, no problem.
Yeah.
And then, what is it, Wes, and that's where the head comes in. Now Wes is like, all right, I'll protect you. That's why those two are the ones who did the Gigi's head thing. Possibly with the help of somebody else who's not a killer, but again, there's going to be a lot of that stuff. Hester
that also, as I mentioned earlier, that jumped out at me, is it seems significant when Zayde said, I checked the turkey myself. It's 5 minutes left. And then, okay, so...
That was 5 minutes for them to do it.
And they made a point of Wes turning around and acknowledging that.
And when right before they pull the thing off, Wes is like, here it comes. I have to fucking look at my... And the other thing is, in the last episode, where is she, G? Truth. And starting, I have killer theories for all her scenes, at least for this episode. Her and Gigi are sitting around the table at the beginning. And she's like, well, I'd rather spend my Thanksgiving with my boyfriend, but I'm single now. And then later in the episode, Wes has a spot set for her.
Yes.
She broke up with Wes. Why? Because after making Grace kill her brother, she was like, fine, I'll stop dating your dad. That's the agreement they made.
Yeah, because he seemed butthurt by that.
One thing, though, this is factoring into other stuff, is you're the only real family. I gave up on my family a long time ago. So... Actually, I think maybe Gigi's real daughter, if she had a real daughter, or Dean Munch isn't her mom or something. That, anyway, Hester is her daughter, whether biologically her daughter. And like I said, I'll get into all that next week when we don't have, like, real killer theories.
Right.
We'll go into other stuff like that, but that was made very poignant right there. And people will talk about, like you talked about, that's why I sent you that thing. It's like, oh, but there's that one scene in episode 8 where they go shopping for clothes together. And there's the part in episode 8 where they talk in the kitchen together. And I sent you the thing. your boy Boone fucked up. Now I have to come up with an overly elaborate plan to throw this scent off us. Who's the next person she spends the most time with? Grace. Now we have to be seen getting along, and I'm going to send you off on this thing. I know everybody at the asylum. I'll have that painted lady set some stuff up that you and Pete can... She's using Pete to be able to reiterate her story later for the paper, for everybody. So anyway,
I'm an investigative journalist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say that as many times during this review as he said it during the episode. I don't think I'll get there.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, what else was there? It's and the reason that the two of them have that fight over the picture, like, hey, I have the picture and blah. Why did that fight have to take place in the Kappa kitchen? Because both of them know that when someone goes and eventually reviews that footage, they will have video and audio footage of the two of them not being in cahoots. Why did that fight take place? We never see Gigi alone in that kitchen. Gigi's hardly ever at the house. They had that fight on purpose at that location. So, anyway, that's how those parts get taken care of. There's no evidence that mass murder is genetic.
Yeah.
And Dean Munch, look at her face. She's like, what the fuck? Anyway, let's see. Dean Munch's Chanel theory, 3 theory is wrong because Boone admitted to chainsaw attack.
Yes.
So, anyway, we all agree.
Well, I mean, I think that we can... that Chanel theory and the Dean Munch theory we weren't supposed to take those seriously. Maybe it's going to dissuade some people, but neither of those really hold any water.
No. That seems like an unnecessarily complicated backstory. Aren't those the best kinds?
You know what? I actually read a couple of reviews today that checked that line as being really good. And I'm like, no! Excessively complicated backstories aren't the best.
Nope.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. This one's interesting. This is why I try and cover shit as much as possible, because this is truthfully something that I noticed a long time ago. Is that Ryan, because I've been so big on Melanie, and like I said, I'm not going to tell you right now because I don't quite know Melanie, broad strokes, she'll admit to being the Red Devil in the 11th episode. All of 12 will be, oh my god, it's Melanie. Then we'll, like, in a twist, find out that it's Hester. And then in a final twist, find out that it's Grace who's been pawning everybody. About right. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. Anyway, so Ryan Murphy said in the pilot episode tweeting, he said it took 2 days to film the spray and tanning sequence. And I was like, you motherfucker. And I don't know why I didn't do it, but I wanted to send, because I figured he wouldn't read it.
Right.
Be like, oh, really? Did it take you 2 days to film that simple-ass sequence because you were filming other flashbacks and side things and da-da-da? Boom, right there. There's no reason that scene would take 2 days to film. He gave himself away in the pilot because he tries to be so damn slick. He's going to be like, I tweeted you the answer in the very beginning.
Yeah.
But not that he really did, but still. And then this is the other thing. The Chanel say to Grace when she's there, I'm going to pledge next year. And they're like, well, you're skinny and pretty, but it's very competitive, so you better be rich too. So that's why she's like, I've always wondered why Gigi is the one who comes up with the whole... let all the pledges in. I was like, that always fit into Hester being like, so Hester could finally get... It's because when Grace heard that, she's like, shit, Gigi, you're going to have to find out something. I can't risk not getting in to Kappa House. So that's why Gigi comes up with that idea, and that's where Grace gets the information to give to Gigi to do that. So, anyway.
Good stuff.
Again, just covering bases. Wes's yearbook pick is with a girl named Elizabeth Herfberg, which kind of looks like the chick in the middle, where he's like, yeah, your mom's the one in the middle.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pete has tapped into Chanel's secret video footage. That is why he will eventually die.
I hope so.
Pete's buddy is a county coroner.
You know, something that
which is one of the few people who would make sense for the Boone thing at the beginning.
Something that really jumped out at me was the whole, I had a buddy that had an illegal fireworks operation with this guy that ended up being the coroner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my brother went to high school with a guy and sold fun, whatever.
Yeah, that, I can't even say why. That line really stuck out at me 2 times over.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also because right after that, he's like, I also know somebody who works for Maury Povich. You are the father. that seriously, it's just like, who cares how he got this information? It's not important. They're verifying this is real information, but they're just making a joke about how he got it, and I'll buy it. Fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. It's hard to tell because with any other show on TV, I'm like, yeah, I don't buy it. No one cares where he got the information. He just says the information, and the show and all characters accept it as being truthful.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. In the next episode, we'll go through all the stuff that isn't actually true that we think is true, and da-da-da-da-da. This is all just who's the killer. And then it's just what we mentioned earlier, the Gigi head platter, how funny and slick the writers are. That they literally implicated every character but Chanel, actually.
Yeah.
Chanel Oberlin is the only one who doesn't leave the table at any given time during that. Chad comes running in at just the right time. Every single character could have been the one who did that.
Right, and, something that I understand why they did it, so they don't get docked a point, but the fact that everybody had... It's not that everybody reacted to Gigi's head. It's just that, okay, I've watched every episode of this show. These people don't give a shit when their friends are murdered. So... when they see the severed head of a woman that only one person at the table liked, I was just like, I don't buy anybody's reaction. For Scream Queens, like, only 2 people would have screamed, and everybody else would have been like, oh my, Gigi's dead.
Well,
because
also,
everybody didn't like her.
Hester and Zayde would have screamed because they screamed when Deaf Taylor Swift got her head cut off.
Yeah, and Wes Gardner probably would have screamed because that was his girlfriend. I don't know. And I'm not saying that it should have been different. I get it because, you know what? It was a great shot.
Yeah, it was just the ending.
You pull the lid off. You get reaction shots from everybody at the table. It ends with the head in the middle. Mm-hmm. It was a great scene, and I see why they did it. But it was just like, this is Scream Queens. Like, Chad didn't give a shit.
Right.
Chanel didn't really give a shit.
Yeah, it was just a punctuation on the end of the episode.
But that's just an observation. That doesn't have anything to do with killer theories.
Right. Okay, so, yep, Mike's final killer theory is Grace, and I 100% believe I'm right.
Honestly, you've won me over. I'm not going to pick Grace, because if we both pick the exact same thing...
Yeah, no, that's boring. Right on.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna go with Abigail Breslin.
Okay, right on. That's a good choice, because, yeah, she fits into the whole Mr. Branson thing, which is an actress who's a little bit too big to be such a small character.
And honestly, for me, she's done enough good work this season that isn't even a factor, because I could see her signing on for this really good show with all the for me it's mostly availability. So yeah, I'm gonna go for I'm gonna select Abigail Breslin.
Libby Putney. Oh,
yeah,
right on. That sounds pretty good. Okay, guys, so put in your killer theories. Make sure if this is the 30th and it is 11:45, type your damn killer theory in, because after midnight...
You don't even have to say why. Just say who.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you get bonus points if you say why and you're right, but if you just say who without any explanation and you're right, you're still going to get some credit.
We will be doing killer theories next week.
Oh, by the way, Ian Brennan, Brad Falchuk, Ryan Murphy, you are not allowed to enter.
Right.
Anybody else, post your theory. You 3 guys, no, we'll delete your comment.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking know you're listening to me. Anyway, so I guess that's about it. Is there anything we want to... Remember to tune in next week. We will have further killer theories. If Grace dies in the next episode, I'll have to eat crow, so you want to make sure you hear that.
Yeah, you definitely want to
and like I said, I'm going to go into who's Melanie, where does that factor in, where did she meet Grace, Grace's web spread out, what's Grace's plan, who's the bathtub baby then, how Hester, all of that stuff I'll go into next week here on Killer Theories. All right, see you next time, guys.